All right, Trey. We should be live
In theory,
in theory.
but in practice.
We'll see. Um, because of the little go live mishap earlier.
The stream that never was. Hey, I
Right.
got the notification that we're live, so
Yeah, it looks
uh
like it's okay, dokay.
yeah. Oh, let me pull up that I always forget to pull up the restream chat until I'm actually streaming, and then I'm like, oh yeah. All right.
Cool.
All right.
All right, well, welcome, Beerlings, to episode 16 of Favored Terrain.
God, 16 weeks. We've been doing this for 4 months, Travis.
Yeah, and it's probably
4
the
months.
most enjoyable thing that we've put out on Two Beards.
At least from our perspective, we don't care if you like it or not.
Right, yeah. And I hate to say that because I feel like our pride and joy, our firstborn, is table scraps, but that's that is a labor of love.
That we will carry on with that wayward son,
Yeah.
and one day it'll return to us. Okay. One day it's gonna get easier. It's gotta be.
You got to be bad at something before you can be good at it, and so
exactly, you gotta hammer it out. We just lucked up on Favored Terrain. It's probably one of the easiest things we do, if I think about it.
Yeah, it is, and it's
so simple, so wonderful.
And it's easy content to duplicate and put elsewhere, and I don't know, it's good stuff, and I enjoy just hanging out for an hour plus, and just even if we like talked for like 10 minutes on the topic and then just like started just rambling on about something other D&D related, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I feel like as long as we talk about D&D at least once every episode, then we're on track.
Yeah,
like we set out with a topic, we can discuss that topic however briefly we want to, and then just go from there. I don't think that's going to be the case tonight, though, because Waterdeep Dungeon Heist is actually quite dope. I don't know how you feel about it, because we personally don't talk about things beforehand.
Yeah, no, it is quite dope, and it's just like the Curse of Strahd. Like, like, why am I just not running these with everybody I know? Because this is like so freaking cool. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get something pulled up here for our visual listeners.
For our visual listeners,
yeah. So yeah, we're talking about the adventure module Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And I mean, it's cool stuff, man. Really, really liking it. Here, and I'm gonna pull up a map of Waterdeep, okay, to give you kind of idea of scale. And I'm not going to talk too much about the layout, but just this is the setting. It's a massive, massive city. It's a really cool city.
Oh yeah, and it's a really old city. If you want to get into D&D lore,
it's so old.
Yes, Waterdeep has been around in D&D novels like forever. Like if there was a capital city of Dungeons and Dragons, this is it, y'all. Waterdeep is huge. It's massive. Think about like modern day New York City, I guess, or even something bigger like Dubai in India or something like that. It is intensely large and is so intricate. This setting, like, we'll get into it, but one of the whole ideas is that this whole adventure takes place within the city of Waterdeep, and they actually discourage you from letting your players leave it.
Oh yeah, like no, there's
you can do whole campaigns and never leave the hometown if that hometown is Waterdeep.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's insane. And what I love, like, because we're saying it's old, like, and I'm okay. So to preface this video, I am in a game that plays every other Friday, and our DM is running us through. Well, we ended up organically coming to Waterdeep. And in doing so, we have found ourselves in the Mad Maid Dungeon, which is another adventure module within Waterdeep, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
It's mentioned in this adventure.
Yeah, because you go to... Anyway, we'll talk about that. But it's an old city, as in it has been built up upon itself. There are layers of this city that go deep than just what you see here on the surface. So it is such a cool city. Like that in itself is so cool. I love Waterdeep. I don't know much about like the proper setting for the D&D lore and the canon stuff, but playing in this campaign, Jeremy loves the canon lore for D&D and the Sword Coast and all that. So I'm learning a lot, and it's a lot of fun. But this adventure is really cool. So I just want to like go ahead and kind of set the stage here. Waterdeep Dragon Heist. We're not stealing dragons.
Yeah, no. That was something I learned. I'm like, oh, it actually has just very little to do with dragons, actually.
Right. Not completely none, but very little.
But very little, actually.
Yeah. Dragons are what they call their gold coin, their currency in Waterdeep.
Which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, when I read that, I'm like, oh, that's genius.
Yeah.
It sounds so much cooler for an NPC to be like, yeah, that's 25 dragons. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know where you want to get started.
Well, first of all, can you pull up the cover art and let people have a look at this? I always like to give a nod to the artist out there at Wizards of the Coast, because it's so cool looking. I mean, let me get over here so I can see when you pull it up.
It's up.
It's up. Okay, because I'm on a little bit of a delay watching it from both ends. But yes, you've got this really cool artwork that, in theory, is the covers of the book, and you've got like this swoop of gold coins, or the dragons. Those are the dragons, and then you've got all these different characters, and all of these characters are tied into this story. But it's very cool. It flows well. It makes me feel like it's an old school movie poster, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's got that to where your eye is drawn in 3 different directions at the same time. But if you look closely, you're like, oh, who is that? What is that? What's going on here? So kudos to the artist, as always, for this. Fantastic. But to sort of break it down here for you, we are not, as always, with these adventures, going to walk you through every little bit of the adventure, because we want you to be able to enjoy the adventure. We are not going to spoil this adventure. Did we talk about the Patreon?
Our Patreon?
Yeah, did we talk about that?
No, not yet.
Oh, everybody should go to patreon.com/beer. No, that's my other one.
Not again, Trey. Not again.
Two Beards Play. That's who we are. We're Two Beards Play.
Yeah.
And become a patron over there. You get special things going on there. One of which is if you can actually tell us a topic for this show, and we'll do it. We've done it before. It's fantastic. Do it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But we don't want to spoil this for people. Also, we are going to talk about some things here. So if you are currently in a campaign or in a group that is running Waterdeep Dragon Heist, we recommend you stop at this point and listen to this episode later. But still review us and give us, all that good stuff. Subscribe, please. But we are probably going to just cover the introduction. That's how in-depth this one is.
Yeah.
Like, if you think Curse of Strahd is involved, it ain't got nothing on Dragon Heist. It ain't got nothing on Dragon Heist. So we're only going to cover things from the introduction. Everything else we're going to kind of leave out there for you to peruse at your leisure or enjoy in your own campaign.
Yeah. I want to talk a second about the layout of this book, which I thought was really cool. So it's 9 chapters. Okay. Introduction, 9 chapters. You've got Appendix A, B, and C, and some maps. Okay. So if you are running, and you can run this at level 1. Okay. You can start at level 1. By the time you get into it, I think the recommended level is like 5 or 4.
Yeah.
But chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 are done in order. Okay, those are in order, and then chapter 4 through 9 are situational depending on how your DM is running the game.
Yes.
So what's cool is it's kind of like a pick your own adventure book.
And you
Um,
could play it multiple
you
times.
can and have different scenarios. So in the beginning, um, the very first thing is introduction, story overview, and then choose your villain.
Yes, which is such a cool aspect to an adventure.
Yes. And I'm just going to do the names. Some of these might be familiar to you. Xanathar, the Castellanters. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. There's a whole thing in the front of the book that tells you how to pronounce a lot of names, which I thought was
Yeah.
really handy for DMs.
I think you got it though, Castellanters.
The Jarlaxle,
Yarlaxle.
Yarlaxle. Okay, yeah.
I actually know a little bit about Yarlaxle if you want me to do a lore dump eventually.
Okay, and the Manshoon is the fourth one.
Yeah,
okay.
Why not?
So you have 4, and what's cool is your DM gets to pick who's the main bad guy, and then depending on the bad guy you choose, depends on what season of the year your game takes place. So that'll be spring, summer, autumn, or winter. I'm not going to tell you really which one goes with which, because if you're playing this and you're like, oh well, we're in winter, which one is that? Well, it's one of them. I'm not going to tell you which one though.
Yeah.
But going back to the chapters, so you do chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and those are there to set up the main Dragon Heist story. So once you get to chapter 4, it's called Dragon Season. And basically it's all these encounters, but they have them broken up into, if you're in this season, you want to do these encounters. If you're in this season, you want to do these encounters. And it kind of helps you figure out, which route you want to take depending on who's your bad guy. Yeah. And so chapter 5 is called Spring Madness. Chapter 6 is called HE double hockey sticks of a summer.
Such a dad.
Yeah. 7 is Maestro's Fall. 8 is Winter Wizardry. And so, yeah.
Chapter 9 is a little different, though. It actually, all of Chapter 9 is just dedicated to information about Waterdeep.
Yeah. Yeah. Entering Waterdeep, a long history, in brief, in quote, surviving in the city, the wards of Waterdeep, the city's splendors, and parting words. So
all written by Volo himself. You may recognize him as Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Yeah.
All the people who write your D&D books are characters within the D&D world.
I know.
There's your meta.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, so yeah, you want to kick us off in the introduction?
All right.
I know you've done plenty of reading tonight.
Right. But I'm all warmed up now finally.
Yeah.
So, So this is literally what the introduction says, just to give you an idea of it. It says, "Welcome to Waterdeep, the crown of the north, where a wondrous tale of urban adventure is about to unfold. Our story begins with a gathering of adventurers at the Yawning Portal Inn and Tavern. Volafam Gadarm, the famous explorer and raconteur, has a quest for them, one that entangles the characters in a bitter conflict between two nefarious organizations. If the adventurers complete his quest, Volo rewards them handsomely, yet a much greater prize lies hidden somewhere in the City of Splendors, waiting to be claimed." That's the tagline, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like they do it so well. Chris Perkins, master of his craft, sits high on my pantheon of dungeon master gods. But yes, it's so great. And they even say if you're looking for a higher level adventure set in Waterdeep, you can do Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which is a whole nother thing. I don't want to get into all that.
Yeah.
But basically the overview here, it says, is a treasure hunt set in an urban backdrop. The adventure's plot can be summarized as follows. And this isn't giving anything away. This is just kind of like the overall idea of the story.
So good.
500,000 gold coins are hidden somewhere in Waterdeep. Many individuals know about the cache and are looking for it. Adventurers can join the hunt and prevent the cache from falling into evil hands. Let me pre-scan this to make sure it's not spoilery. No, it does not actually, because it's obvious that within Waterdeep there are these factions. There's plenty of factions. They're political, criminal organizations, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, because of this 500,000 dragons, there are two criminal organizations that are vying for it, and they're actually in the midst of a turf war, kinda. So you've also got that layered on top of all this. The city is threatened by escalating tension between two power groups that is on the verge of flaring into violence. The Zentarum, a shadowy network of mercenaries, and Xanathar, the beholder crime lord of Waterdeep, are at odds, and when they clash, the characters are pulled into the conflict. So you're not just going after gold here. There's a lot more stuff going on in this, and you can get involved as much or as little as you want, really. But yes, it's so much here. It says Cache of Dragons. In Waterdeep, a gold coin is called a dragon. Before he was ousted from his position as the Open Lord of Waterdeep, which is the person in charge of Waterdeep, they're called the Open Lord. It's obvious to them. Dagult Neverember embezzled 500,000 dragons and hid them in a secret vault. As a security precaution, he arranged for all knowledge of the vault's location and defenses to be magically erased from his mind and the minds of his subordinates. The wizard who performed the procedure trapped this knowledge within an artifact called the Stone of Golor. You gotta say it like that, Golor. The wizard disappeared shortly thereafter, and Dagult hid the stone in the Palace of Waterdeep. Dagult was off rebuilding the city of Neverwinter, which is also another thing altogether, when the other lords of Waterdeep voted him out of office. He immediately made plans to retrieve the Stone of Golor and smuggle his cache of dragons out of Waterdeep. His spies plucked the stone from the palace, but were killed while trying to leave the city. The stone was stolen and passed from one hand to another like a common jewel until it wound up in the clutches of Xanathar.
I don't know.
Huh?
I said, I don't know if you want to go to that next paragraph or not.
No. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because that will start getting into some spoilery stuff. Now, Xanathar is important because if you play D&D, you're probably like, wait, like Xanathar's guide to everything? Yes.
Yeah.
That Xanathar.
That beholder.
That beholder, a beholder who lives in civilization, not in some weird cave somewhere. He's in the middle of civilization, and he is operating as a secret crime lord within Waterdeep. That right there is D&D gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't get more D&D than that.
Yeah, I want to. You referenced something a minute ago about the Yawning Portal. So in this, it kind of recommends that if you're making level 1 characters, this is a great starting point for your characters to meet each other. They actually have a list of NPC connections that each character can have that work or that go to the Yawning Portal. So this is like a very key structure. Actually, this is not giving away anything. If you do the Mad Mage dungeon, the Yawning Portal, there's a big giant hole in the middle of this tavern that adventurers.
There's a picture. Did you see that artwork?
I'm about to pull it up. That's what I'm getting
to.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do that. But adventurers go down this rope into this giant whale-like structure, just a round stone hole in the ground, and in that hole is the Mad Mage's dungeon. So this Yawning Portal place it's a really cool place where a lot of stuff will happen, and I just kind of wanted to show off this artwork because it's really cool.
And if you look at this artwork, if you're wondering like what are all these little bubbles, those are numbers, and each numbered person is an actual fully fleshed out NPC. Let that sink in.
Well, let's see. The highest number I'm seeing 83, 85, because they're not in order, but
right. But 85, just if it was 85 fully fleshed out with backstory NPCs. I read the introduction, the foreword by Chris Perkins. He got Matt Mercer to do a lot of this NPC work, and we all know when it comes to NPCs, Matt Mercer is king. Like nobody creates an NPC like Matt Mercer. So he got to work on this and just went hard on it. So yeah, there is so much you could do. You could do so much in this tavern alone that you never even actually get to the adventure. You know, it's really so open ended.
Yeah. I love, this is kind of a side note, but they have the breakdown for how the calendar system works in D&D.
Yeah.
And that's a cool tool if you want to use that. But basically, it is 12 months in a year. Each month is 30 days broken into 3 10-day weeks. And they talk about holidays, and holidays aren't actually part of the months. They're like their own individual day. And anyway, so but it's got the months and the holidays listed out, and if you want to use that for your world or whatever, that's
The names of the months are so great too. Like the very first month of the year in the D&D canon world is Hammer.
Yeah.
And then it goes Alturiak, Chess, Tarsak, Myrtul, Keythorn, Flame Rule, Elysis, sorry if I butchered that, Eliot, Marpanoth, Uktar, and Nightall. Key says Kelvin timeline. Yeah, pretty much. It all helps. It got its own thing, Keith. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. I'm kind of skimming here.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about brief, like just a general overview of each of the villains without giving anything away?
Yeah, we could do that.
That's what I was kind of thinking, because you have basic 4 options for your big bad guys. Cody, what up, dude? We got people in the chat. They're all jazzed up from book club, and they're like, we want to talk D&D, especially since our group didn't play D&D this week, so everyone's like, oh, D&D.
Oof.
Yeah, it was rough, but we had good reason. So yeah, the basic breakdown of the choose your villain aspect of this adventure is you got 4 options here. You've got Xanathar. This is all for like your main bad guy. They're all bad guys, but you get to pick a main bad guy. Cody says, so with Waterdeep, you talking about the campaign or Waterdeep? We're talking about Dragon Heist specifically. Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And so your 4 options for your villain, your main overarching bad guy for this adventure is Xanathar, the Castellanters, Yarlaxle Bainray, and Manchun. Xanathar, of course, we have talked about, is a beholder that kind of runs the crime syndicate in Waterdeep.
Yeah, I like how they did. Xanathar is a paranoid megalomaniac beholder crime lord whose goal is to wipe out anyone it perceives as a Syntharian, operative, or sympathizer.
Yeah.
Paranoid, megalomaniac, beholder, which describes any beholder, really.
Right, but the fact that this one, instead of shunning all of the lesser creatures in the world, he was like, I could make them pawns in my criminal underworld.
Yeah.
And so he actually went to civilization. I love it. Cody said he's only ever played this with Xanathar as the bad guy. He said kidnapping his goldfish and killing it was the highlight of my experience. You, sir, probably shouldn't have lived through that campaign. If you don't know the one thing, the lore, this is deep lore now. Stick with me here. The only thing Xanathar loves as much as himself is his pet goldfish. That's why on the cover of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, there is a goldfish.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Fun fact. Cody evidently, when he played this, stole that goldfish and killed it. The beholder's goldfish.
Yeah.
So, would love to hear that story sometime in detail, but yeah, you probably shouldn't have lived. So yeah, that's Xanathar. The next option is the Castellanters. Now, this is actually a duo. This is a married couple. Victorio and Amalia Castellanter are Waterdavian, which is what they call people who live in Waterdeep. They're not Waterdeepies or whatever. They're Waterdavians. Nobles and secret devil worshippers.
Oh, yeah.
The Castellanters plan to use the Cache of Dragons to buy back the souls of their children, which they traded to Asmodeus for power. What?
Like, how do you think that's going to go over well?
Right, like who said, you know what we could do?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Cody said, let's just say a beholder with magic rings on its stalks is super powerful. I imagine so.
Oof.
But yes, these castle lanterns are they have a goal. You know, I love a bad guy with a good goal and also a good reason. And these have good ones. They were like, yeah, when we were young and trying to become super powerful, we made a deal with a devil, in this case Asmodeus, for the souls of our children. And we thought it was fine, but now that we're getting older, we're like,
oops,
maybe that wasn't a good idea. So they're going to try to literally buy them back. So that's why they want the Cache of Dragons, so that they can buy back the souls of their children. Which that's great. To me, that supersedes Xanathar as far as cool villains, you know, because Xanathar is like, I just want to be the most powerful crime lord. The Castellanters kind of have a quote-unquote noble reason. They're sort of like the anti-hero. They do bad things, but for good reasons, you know?
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for an anti-hero, though, so... the next one is Yarlaxle Baneray. This character I know about because I have read some of the books in the Dritz Durden saga.
Because he is a drow.
He is a drow. He is also heavily featured in those books because he is a male drow. And if you know anything about drow society, to be a male is to be garbage. They are matriarchal, they are run by females and all that good stuff. So Yarlaxle Baneray said, bugger that, and left. Sorry for my British cursing. But yeah, and so he has this group of drows, of male drows that have been ostracized and cast out of their families, and they just sort of band together as like this hodgepodge, we're gonna do what we want kind of thing. And he's a major player in this Waterdeep thing because he's trying to ascend to be a respected lord in Waterdeep as well. It says Yarlaxle Baneray is a drow swashbuckler, and the secret lord of Luskan, the city of sails. Yarlaxle plans to use the Cache of Dragons to buy his way into the Lord's Alliance, a confederation of cities and towns that band together against common threats. So, again, dope. And you know what he came into Waterdeep on? His traveling circus ship. How cool is that?
That's like airship or boat ship?
No, just a boat ship. Not an airship, just a regular boat ship. But that's the traveling circus. A ship.
That's cool.
And they just sail in, set up, do stuff like that, and then they're gone. But he uses that as a cover for his nefarious things. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Cody says the storyline of this book is amazing. I love the mystery plus heist plus urban theme. Yeah, it's really, really, really cool. Okay, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, and then your last option, Manshoon. Which I gotta be honest, I was kind of disappointed wasn't a mind flayer. I was kind of like, that sounds like a good mind flayer name. Not a mind flayer.
Okay.
A clone of the wizard Manshoon. This is not even the Manshoon. This guy is a clone, which is a spell. By the way, cloning is a spell. Cody said the book is number 3 in the all-time best campaign books in 5.0. Dude, it's up there for me as well. One of the founders of the Zentarum, remember that group? The Zentarum is hiding in Waterdeep. He wants to rule the city by claiming the Cache of Dragons and by using the wealth to bribe the masked lords into making him the new open lord. So he wants to be in charge of all of Waterdeep, and that's what he wants to do with the money.
That's crazy.
So that is your reasoning behind each of the bad guys. And like I said, I didn't want to go into too much detail because it gives way too much spoilers and all that, but those are your 4 options, and that's why they want this money, you know, because
right.
500,000 gold coins is a lot. A lot. Cody says, number 1 is Strahd, number 2 is Tomb of Annihilation. Cody said, no more floor cleaner tea tray. No, I threw that garbage out. In my other show, In my other show, Bearded Book Club, I roll for a random tea to drink during it because we're fancy and all that jazz. And I got lemon zinger, which I swear to you tastes like
Pine Sol.
Pine Sol. And I'm just like, and I kept trying, and it was just so gross. And so every time that comes up now, my only consolation is that's one less tea bag I have in the house.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is totally not related to D&D, but you saying that reminded me of something I saw in the news here in my local town. It don't really matter, but I'm not going to say what it is. But a McDonald's here in town is getting sued by a woman because instead of serving her coffee, they served her the cleaner that they run through the coffee machines.
Ew.
And
like they forgot to drain it?
I guess. I don't know, but she has anyway, it was a whole write-up on the news thing. Like, she called 911 and McDonald's wouldn't let the ambulance and stuff come in. They wouldn't cooperate with them. And she's got permanent esophagus damage because she drank this chemical cleaning hardcore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
It's wild. I was like, I hope she gets millions.
Oh yeah, and she will.
Yeah,
she definitely will. McDonald's is gonna settle, and they're gonna settle hard.
Yeah. But yeah. So after it talks about your options for bad guys, it gets into running the adventure. This is more, for the DM side, but it goes back to talking about the flow of the chapters. So Waterdeep Dragon Heist consists of an introductory adventure designed to familiarize player characters with the city of Waterdeep and provide them with stuff, and that's going to be chapter 1 and 2. And then followed by Citywide Treasure Hunt, chapters 3 and 4, with descriptions of the villains' lairs, which are chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that gives you, that layout for the book. So if you get this, you know what to expect. It's super easy laid out. It's so cool though. I've really, and they've got these cool flow charts. Depending on your villains or what choices your characters make and stuff like that. So,
and every time we talk about one of these adventures, we're always like, God, I want to play this adventure. I either want to run it or I want to be in it. If the Oatmeal and Waltzer show gets big and Kote's up for it, we may do a series, just an idea of us running it, just adventures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've like you said, the reason I don't run adventures because it feels like a lot and I prefer to do my homebrew stuff, but this seems like a good time,
Yeah. Yeah. And this one in particular might be a cool one because it's, I don't know, treasure hunt, investigating. There's something there.
Dude, what if we ran it as Oatmeal and Waltzer though?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could throw that in there as an adventure, of them. That would be great.
Yeah. Continuing down in the introduction, we've got character creation and some cool things to kind of get you more immersed into Waterdeep. Whenever you choose a background, if you do a noble background, they have specific houses from Waterdeep that you can kind of align yourself with. And I'm not gonna. There's 4 or 5 here, that you can look into. So if you make a character for this campaign, that is an option. And it has some too that it recommends for this setting, which would be City Watch, Cloistered Scholar, Faction Agent, Far Traveler, Inheritor, Mercenary Veteran, Urban Bounty Hunter, and Waterdavian Noble. And then you got the noble families that you could choose from. Something else that was cool that is just Waterdeep specific are the guilds.
Oh man,
this
was so cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pull up just a list of these. And it's cool because Jeremy, is implementing these. And anyway, so everybody in our group paid, I think it was 10 gold or something to join. Everybody joined their own guild. Right. And but there's a guild for every single profession that you can think of: bakers, carpenters, coopers, Dung Sweepers Guild,
Yeah.
Bowers and Fletchers, Carters and Coachmen, Innkeepers, Salters, Packers, and Joiners, Fishmongers Fellowship, Apothecaries and Physicians. That's the one I joined because I'm a druid and
Right.
I'm
I love this one. Most careful order of skilled smiths and metal forgers.
most careful, yes. And then under that, most diligent league of cell makers and cord waners.
And below that, the most excellent order of weavers and dyers. Like, this is just great, man. I love this. And I love the idea of, yes, these are all the official ones, but you can make up literally any guild for whatever. Like, I would so throw in, like, if you're getting... I could just see like a group of NPC street urchin children, and they're trying to shake you down for some gold coin, and they're like, "Look, I'm gonna have to report this to the guild." And you're like, "What guild are you on?" And you're like, "The Guild of Street Urchin Children." What's your problem? You know, it's this organization run by like the children of the streets. You know.
Yeah. Well, one thing.
Oh,
go ahead.
I will say, he said, I played this campaign in an official D&D group at a shop in Washington. Oh, for like guild league play.
Avengers League.
Yeah.
But what I've learned playing in this on my every other Friday is that if you want to do business in any of these professions and you're not part of the guild, like the guild will shut you down. Like
hang it up.
Yeah, like if you want to practice medicine or if you want to practice basket weaving and you're not part of the basket weaving guild and they're not getting a cut of your profits, or
they're going to shut you down.
They're going to shut you down. Like this, and that's why there's so many. And then I don't know. It's very legalistic. It's what I'm learning. We haven't jumped too far in that because we got into town and then we went pretty much straight to the Mad Mage's dungeon from a tip that we had. Mm-hmm. And but when we came in, we got offered to, here's our list of guilds.
Yeah, but it's also interesting to think about because when you're in Waterdeep as players in this characters in this campaign setting, unless you are strictly going to like the Yawning Portal and going dungeon diving, doing adventurer stuff, there is no other way to make money legally in Waterdeep. You have to join one of these guilds. You can't just be like, well, I try to do this. You can't like, oh, I'm a bard, so I start strumming on the street to get some gold coin. No, then that guild is going to show up and be like, who do you think you are? Where's your permit?
Yeah. No, like 100%. We stopped at one guild like the first night we were in town, and one of the characters is not a bard but plays an instrument. And she was like, hey, can I ask the bartender to, play, maybe make some council of musicians, instrument makers, and choristers. But like, can I play? It's like, are you part of the guild? And I'm like, which guild? She was like, which guild? And I was like, the Guild of Musicians. And she's like, no. It's like, well, no, you can't. Like, I'm not having that trouble. No.
Yeah, the last thing I need is them coming in here and getting upset with me. Not happening. Yeah, because then that's going to clash with the, where is it? Oh, I just saw it. It's like the Fellowship of Innkeepers. I'm not going to have them mad at me. Not doing that.
Yeah.
Because your actions in dealing with other guilds can clash with your guild. And then that creates a whole bunch of political issues there. Like, it's so funny to have, what is it? Bureaucracy in a D&D campaign, but
right.
it works,
And another character, Jeremy's wife Brooke, joined the Cartographers Guild, whatever that is, map makers. I don't know which one it is on this list, but and they are actually paying her to make a map of the whatever we explore down in the Mad Mage's dungeon, and if we are successful in bringing that back, like they're going to pay her very well.
Pay her well, I imagine. Yeah.
So it's really cool stuff that you can do with these factions, guilds rather. Because I almost said the word factions because that's actually next on the list.
Yeah, there are guilds and then there are factions. And this is different.
Yeah. Xanathar's guild ranks. Xanathar's guild is a faction. Force Grey and then Bregan That they're
Regan the Earth, that is Jarl Axel's group.
okay. So these I think these are the villains, right? Like their factions.
Xanathar's guild is one. Bregan the Earth is Jarl Axel's. Force Grey Ranks is not. It's actually a militaristic group. And then the other two bad guys don't have their guilds. They're kind of functioning as independents.
I gotcha. But yeah, I mean they've got ranks here listed, like, depending on how high up you are. Which I love the names for the guild ranks for Xanathar. Eye Stalker, Agent of the Eye, Eye Ray, Guild Boss, Hand of the Eye. So those are cool. And an option. I'm not sure how really that would play out. I guess, like, say if not Xanathar was the bad guy and you wanted to join Xanathar, there's some way to be a part of his faction to complete the story and run through it.
Because I could totally see him willing to be like, oh, I'll take you on and you're going to be a spy. Although the idea is that very few people know that Xanathar runs Xanathar's guild. He's like this mysterious head. Only few people know that he's an actual beholder. Which is what I would worry about as a player, is you got to be super careful not to metagame on this.
Right.
Because you can't be like, ooh, I want to go be a part of the beholder crime boss. And it's like, no, your character wouldn't know that he's a beholder. Only like 3 people know he's a beholder. And he's one of them.
Which is hard to do, because it's not even outside of this book. Like, we have a whole book, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and then you see his name pop up in here and you're like, oh, the beholder guy? I'm like, no, you don't know that. You don't know that.
You don't know that. Like when I saw the Jarl Axel stuff, I would be like, oh, I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him, because he doesn't show that he's a drow. They actually disguise themselves.
Yeah.
So like I can't let that in there. Man, I need to put metagaming on the picker wheel, because that's a topic in and of itself, isn't it?
Oh, it really is.
All right, I'm gonna add that in there. Metagaming. Boom, the wheel just got bigger. Cody says, I ended up with a level 11 Black Dragonborn Arcane Trickster in the end of this book. If either one of you need an awesome NPC, he's really fun to run. Dude, I would totally put that into the Yawning Portal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why not?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, I'm pulling up the table of contents. Yeah, the factions, and then it gets into the Yawning Portal itself and gives you a little bit of backstory on that. And then that's the end of the introduction. And then it goes into chapter 1, A Friend in Need, Where to Start. And then, from there, that's the DM's realm. And
we're going to leave it at that.
Right. I do want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. And that's in the Appendix A, the magic items.
Oh?
And that's intelligent items, Trey.
Oh, yeah.
I love intelligent items. And I'm not going to get too much into the intelligent items in this book, but there are more than one, and they're all really cool. And I think we need more intelligent items. I always make intelligent items for my games in some form or fashion. The first one that comes to my brain is Frank the Dagger.
Oh my God, Frank the Dagger! I have not thought about Frank the Dagger in years, Travis. How dare you bring up Frank the
Dagger? Frank the Dagger was madly in love with Ro, and it was always by her side, literally, because he had no choice.
He had no choice. Oh my God!
Because even if Natalie threw that dagger, Frank was coming back because he was loyal.
Yep. And wasn't he like an NPC that he was just stringing along with this? He ended up dying.
He ended up, they were using a dagger to make a sacrifice on something. I can't remember. It's been so long. But they were trying to trap the soul of somebody in this dagger, and Frank got in the way somehow. And ended up getting sacrificed, and his soul got trapped in the dagger, and Natalie attuned to it and
I remember, and I specifically, in character, made her carry this knife. I'm like, this is on you.
Yeah.
I'm not taking responsibility for this one. And she was like, I could just leave it here. And I'm like, go ahead. And then sure enough, Travis was like, you notice it's back in its sheath on your belt. Like, she could not shake this dagger. It was so funny.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this one. I'm not going to name it. I'm just going to say it's a melee weapon. But it goes through this intelligence weapon. It's one that you can possibly encounter or possibly get in the game. And it's got some really cool features. It's got hurling, so it's has 3 charges. You can throw it and use a charge and pull it back to you. Illumination, if you want it to glow. It says it's got sentience with an intelligence of 12, a wisdom of 15, and a charisma of 15. It has hearing and dark vision out of a range of 120 feet. The weapon communicates telepathically with its wielder and can speak, read, and understand common. It has a calm, delicate voice. The weapon can sense the presence of non-lawful creatures within 120 feet of it. And it's got a personality block here. It desires to be wielded by a law-abiding person willing to dedicate everything to the city's defense. The weapon is patient and takes its time finding its ideal wielder. If someone tries to use it against its will, the axe can become 10 times heavier than normal and can magically adhere to any medium or larger object or surface it comes in contact with. Once it does so, the axe can't be wielded. Nothing short of a wish spell can separate it from the item or surface which is adhered. Anyway, and there's more than one intelligent weapon, and I love role-playing intelligent weapons, and I got really excited for these listed in the back of the book. So, and there's some really cool, magic items in general too that you can play with and introduce into your game. And that I'm not going to talk about it, but that stone,
I'm not gonna talk about it.
But that stone of Golor,
yeah,
is so cool.
Oh yeah, and there's an accompanying item that goes with it. That plays a major function in Waterdeep as a whole. You know the one I'm talking about. All I'll say is it's a staff.
Okay. Yeah.
This particular staff has a very particular thing that it does.
Yes.
And I'm just sort of like, God, that's good. That's so good.
That's one thing I kind of wish I didn't read. Didn't because I'm in Waterdeep and I had no idea about that.
Right.
And what's going on with it.
And now you have to meta prevent and just pretend like you have no idea, which is funny because if it ever shows up, you as a person, your face is going to be like, your eyes are going to get super wide, and then everyone's just going to be like, what do we do with this? And you're like, I don't know.
I'll hold it. I'll put it in my bag.
I'm the Harangon. I'll hold it.
Oh, man. I don't want to talk too much about the Mad Mage's Dungeon, but it's just so fun. It's just a fun adventure. There was one room that... Okay, so the Mad Mage apparently has a wicked sense of humor. And one room that we were in is right under the Yawning Portal. And you go in and it's like waist deep water, smells of feces, and there's something in the water. And so we're like, but there's something in the water. We got to kill it. There might be a magic item, blah, 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 blah. We spent all night fighting. Like, we had 2 people that can fly. They're fairies, so they're above the water. And I'm like, do I want to transform? I could do swimming now. I'm high enough level. Do I want to transform into a crocodile and get in there and just like tear it apart? No, I don't want to swim around the poop water. Anyway, it was essentially just a septic tank. And the monster that was in there was a brown ooze. And it was a fun adventure. I'll just leave it at that. We'll talk about that more later.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, I really don't know what else to hit on. I think we get
yeah.
a pretty
I'm.
good overview of what to expect in this adventure. Um,
Yeah. Um. If you're talking about the handouts and or the appendices,
yeah,
there is a whole appendix C about handouts,
yeah,
and they give you so much information about all those NPCs we talked about earlier. But also, you get the code legal, which are the laws of Waterdeep.
yeah.
And
Kote printed these out, and we got a copy of it when we entered the city.
yes, because the whole thing about Waterdeep is that they are driven by laws and you will obey these laws or we're going to get you out of here. And basically the consequences are all terrible.
Yeah,
Like I think the least of them is a fine. Like you have to pay for everything that you've done, but they will also kill you. Like they will straight up kill you. If you
yeah,
break too much of the laws, they'll just kill you. They don't care.
yeah,
So you immediately have all of these laws. There's four, from what I just glanced at. there are four, but they all have subsections and stuff like that. So I thought that was great. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, and that's what they're there for too. Like they are titled handouts, and so like if your players come in, and they will, there's a big check-in process for entering Waterdeep, and print it out, give them a copy of those laws, let them be like accountable. They've got a whole section in the introduction how to handle arresting your player characters.
yes, which is something that often gets glossed over
Right.
in D&D campaigns because you're either overpowering the guards or escaping. But you as a dungeon master can say, no, 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 this is happening. You're getting arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I've thought about doing to some of my players before, because there's one group I've got, they're up there, they're like level 14, 15 now, so they're kind of like, no, we're above that, and I'm like, are you though?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Man, that's good stuff. Yeah. Anything else? Think of, Trey?
I'm just trying not to think too hard into the series of adventures of Oatmeal and Waltzer when we go to Waterdeep.
I think even if we don't do this adventure, I think Waterdeep is a great setting, a city setting for us.
Yes,
to.
they would almost have to be in a city setting, you know. 'Cause
Yeah.
if they're in a village, what are you gonna do in a village?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No, I think so.
Either this or anything along the Sword Coast would probably be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. I guess we can spin the wheel for next week. You ready?
Yeah, let me send that to you here. If I could figure out how to do that. Oh, that's right, it's up here. And copy that link, go into Facebook so I can send it to you. This is where some nose flute background music would be great, but
I gotcha. There you go.
awesome.
Could you not hear it again?
Nope. I'm sure the replay is going to be fantastic.
All right, here, let me pull up screen share. All right, and we gonna spin it.
I swear, if it lands on metagaming, I'm going to be like, whoa.
That's meta.
Yeah, that's super meta.
Mordecai's Fiendish Folio, Volume 1.
That actually shouldn't be on there because we already talked about monsters. So let me remove that, or click remove item.
Yeah, I click hide choice, and we'll spin it again.
Yeah, because we already talked about monsters.
All right, next one is Curse of Straw. We've already done that one. Hide that one.
hold on. Because see, mine's doesn't have all this on here.
I mean, I'm just clicking and hiding. Sorcerers.
Okay, we haven't done sorcerers, so
No.
we could do that.
All right.
I don't know. That was so weird.
Yeah. So next week we'll talk about sorcerers.
Yeah, this is a class, so we're going to get back to talking about a class. We haven't talked about a class since Have we only ever done Rangers? Episode 1?
I feel like
We did monks.
We did monks, yeah.
We did monks. Okay. So yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a nice and short, sweet episode. 54 minutes. It's, not short, but
Good enough. With that, I think that's all we can do for this without seriously spoiling this adventure.
yeah.
So I think we gave a good overview of what this is, just to get people interested and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check this out because that's really cool."
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out with us. If you're live, thanks for hanging out live. If you want to be live with us every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Time.
Ish.
Yeah. Over on YouTube, or if you like Twitch, we're doing that. I feel like YouTube's the main spot, though, but we're YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And yeah, and then you can go find us on Patreon. Patreon.com/twobeardsplay, where we have some pretty cool tiers that you can help support us and our D&D and nerdy endeavors, and you can have control over our next episode. So if you got a topic you want us to discuss, you can let us know. As long as you're a patron, we will bump it up to the top of the list.
Yep.
Which is another awesome perk. So
Yes, it is.
all right, well, that's all I got. You got anything, Trey?
No. Play some D&D this week, guys. You deserve it.
Yeah, treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
All right, well, I'm Travis.
I'm Trey.
We're Two Beards Play.